If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns received some tough news this week, and it came straight from head coach Kevin Stefanski. On Monday, Stefanski confirmed that veteran return specialist DeAndre Carter is in the NFL's concussion protocol, meaning the team will be forced to move forward without one of the most experienced players on their roster for at least the near future. Carter suffered the head injury on his very first return against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 2, and after he was escorted to the locker room by an independent neurologist, he was ruled out for the remainder of the game. For a Browns team that invested in him specifically to improve one of the weakest areas of their roster, this is not the kind of setback they wanted to deal with in September. When Cleveland signed Carter this offseason to a one-year deal worth $1.42 million, the hope was simple: bring stability and explosiveness to the return game. The Browns have been desperate for a spark on special teams for years, struggling to flip field position and consistently losing hidden yardage battles that often decide close games. Carter, at 32 years old and entering his 8th NFL season, brought not just speed but also experience. He has been around long enough to understand the nuances of returning kicks at the highest level, and his resume includes 6 career touchdowns, including a memorable kick return touchdown back in 2021. In Week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals, he showcased exactly why Cleveland pursued him, returning 3 punts for 41 yards and averaging over 26 yards per kickoff return. Even in a game where the Browns' offense sputtered, Carter's impact was obvious. That makes the timing of this injury particularly frustrating. Stefanski addressed the media and called all of Cleveland's injuries day-to-day. But anyone who has followed the NFL over the last few years knows how delicate concussions are treated under league protocol. The NFL has made player safety, especially regarding head injuries, a top priority. Clearing concussion protocol is no small feat, and players are rarely ready to go just days after entering it. That reality makes it highly unlikely that Carter will be available for Cleveland's upcoming home game against the Green Bay Packers. For the Browns, it now becomes a question of who steps up in his absence. On Sunday against Baltimore, rookie wide receiver Isaiah Bond was the man thrown into the fire. Bond signed with Cleveland after going undrafted in the 2025 NFL Draft, largely because of legal issues that clouded his stock. Once he was cleared, the Browns wasted no time in offering him a fully guaranteed 3-year deal, believing his speed and raw athleticism could give their roster a boost. At just 21 years old, Bond has plenty of upside, but his lack of experience in the return game showed immediately. During his college career at Texas, he returned only 2 kicks. That inexperience translated onto the field as he looked tentative and hesitant against the Ravens. Confidence is everything for a returner, and Bond will need to find his quickly if the Browns are going to trust him with such a crucial role in Week 3. Special teams coordinator Bubba Ventrone now has a tall task in front of him. He has 1 week to get Bond up to speed, and considering the rookie joined the roster late and missed almost all of the preseason, that's no small challenge. Return specialists spend hours studying blocking schemes, timing their acceleration, and learning when to attack a seam or when to call for a fair catch. It's an art form, and it requires reps to master. Cleveland doesn't have the luxury of easing Bond in. If Carter can't go, the Browns need Bond to be ready immediately against the Packers. That's a lot of pressure for a rookie who only just got his feet wet in the NFL. If Cleveland decides Bond isn't ready, there is another option: Jerome Ford. The 4th-year running back already has a role carved out on this roster thanks to his willingness to contribute on special teams. Earlier this offseason, Ford restructured his contract to remain in Cleveland, a move that showed just how valuable the front office and coaching staff believe he is in that phase of the game. Ford has flashed ability as a returner in the past, and his combination of vision and toughness could give the Browns a steady hand if they don't want to rely solely on Bond. However, Ford's role on offense may complicate things. With rookie Quinshon Judkins making his NFL debut and Dylan Sampson handling change-of-pace snaps, Ford's offensive workload has decreased, which could actually free him up to handle return duties. But there's always a balancing act when it comes to managing snaps and responsibilities. The Browns can't afford to burn out one of their key depth pieces. Still, this is the reality for a team that has been trying to claw its way back into AFC contention. Special teams may not get the same spotlight as a quarterback duel or a defensive showdown, but it can swing games. Field position determines momentum, dictates play calling, and often decides whether drives end in points or punts. That's why losing Carter, even temporarily, is such a blow. He was brought in to fix a glaring weakness, and through 2 weeks, it looked like he was starting to do just that. Without him, Cleveland is left to shuffle options and hope that either a rookie or a role player can rise to the occasion. For Carter, this is a setback in what has otherwise been a solid career. Since entering the NFL, he has earned a reputation as a grinder, a player who may not make headlines every week, but who can be trusted to do the dirty work in the return game. Concussions, however, are unpredictable. Some players bounce back quickly, while others are sidelined for weeks. At 32, Carter has to be careful. His long-term health is at stake, and the Browns will have no choice but to prioritize his recovery over rushing him back onto the field. As for the Browns, they now turn their focus toward preparing for Green Bay. The Packers' special teams have historically been a challenge, and giving them an edge in field position would only make life harder for Cleveland's defense and offense. Whether it's Isaiah Bond shaking off his nerves or Jerome Ford stepping into a bigger role, the Browns will need someone to emerge. That's the nature of the NFL. Injuries force adjustments, and the next man up mentality is not just a slogan, it's a survival tactic. The coming week of practice will reveal a lot. Ventrone will put Bond through intense drills to see if he can handle the pressure. Stefanski and his staff will weigh the risk of throwing a rookie into the fire against the potential steadiness of Ford. And all the while, Carter will be sidelined, working through the NFL's concussion protocol, waiting for the green light to return. It's a tricky situation, but it's one the Browns have no choice but to navigate. For Cleveland fans, the loss of Carter is more than just about who returns punts or kicks. It's about momentum, it's about field position, and it's about having one less veteran voice in a locker room that needs all the leadership it can get. This team has aspirations beyond the regular season, and in games that come down to inches, losing a proven returner can be the difference between victory and defeat. Carter's absence leaves a void, and now it's up to the younger, less experienced players to prove they can fill it until the veteran makes his way back. In the end, the Browns' special teams situation highlights both the fragility and the resilience of an NFL roster. One injury changes everything, but one opportunity can also launch a new career. For DeAndre Carter, the hope is that his recovery is swift and complete. For Isaiah Bond and Jerome Ford, the moment is now. And for the Cleveland Browns, Week 3 against the Packers just got a little more complicated. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Shockwaves are hitting the NFL world tonight, and if you're a fan of drama, intrigue, or just plain jaw-dropping football rumors, you're going to want to sit down for this one. In what insiders are already calling one of the most secretive and shocking moves of the offseason, the Cleveland Browns have reportedly traded quarterback Joe Flacco in a deal that had been under wraps until just hours ago. That's right. Joe Flacco, a veteran signal caller whose experience has been a cornerstone for the Browns in various stretches, is now apparently heading to a new team in a move that seems straight out of a Hollywood thriller. The details are murky, as you might expect with a deal this under the radar, but sources close to the organization have hinted that the trade was not only strategic, but also a financial recalibration for Cleveland, signaling that the front office is thinking long-term, and perhaps even in ways we didn't anticipate. For years, Flacco has been a polarizing figure in Cleveland. Fans have loved his poise in the pocket, his ability to manage games, and his veteran leadership in the locker room. But at the same time, critics have pointed to inconsistent performances and moments of struggle that made some question whether the Browns were ready to fully commit to him as a franchise quarterback. Now, with this trade, the team seems to be sending a very clear message. They are ready to move forward with either a younger quarterback, a different system, or perhaps even a completely new approach to building their offensive strategy. The timing is curious, too, as the NFL offseason is typically full of whispers and minor moves. But this one comes across as sudden, almost cinematic, like a plot twist no one saw coming until the very last moment. Rumors swirling around the league suggest that the Browns might have found a partner willing to take on Flacco's contract in exchange for draft picks or other strategic assets. While the exact details are under wraps, Insiders hint that Cleveland's front office executed the trade with the precision of a chess grandmaster, carefully weighing every possible outcome before pulling the trigger. This is not a move born out of panic, but rather one that could signal a deeper, more calculated vision for the franchise's future. It's the kind of maneuver that can define an offseason, reshape a locker room, and, if it plays out correctly, alter the trajectory of the team for years to come. Fans and analysts alike are now scrambling to decode the implications, poring over cap space, draft picks, and roster depth charts, trying to figure out what the Browns might be aiming for with this bold and unexpected choice. Joe Flacco's reaction to the trade, predictably, has been guarded. Sources close to the quarterback indicate that while he's disappointed to leave a team he's grown close to, he understands the nature of professional sports and is already evaluating his options. Where he lands next is still anyone's guess, though speculation is rampant. Some point to teams with established quarterbacks who might be looking for a seasoned backup to mentor younger talent, while others suggest that a team in the market for a starting-caliber veteran could pounce immediately, knowing that Flacco brings years of playoff experience and a reputation for keeping cool under pressure. The chatter across social media is explosive, with fans debating which franchises could benefit most, how this trade impacts the Browns' draft strategy, and whether this is the beginning of a larger roster overhaul or just a singular, isolated move. Behind the scenes, there are whispers about how secretive the negotiation process was. Reportedly, only a handful of executives and agents were privy to the details until the deal was finalized. No leaks, no early scoops, nothing, just a sudden announcement that has left the sports world buzzing. Some analysts speculate that the Browns deliberately kept the trade quiet to avoid media frenzy, maintain leverage over potential trading partners, or simply to control the narrative when the news finally broke. Whatever the reason, the strategy seems to have worked, because the moment the rumor surfaced, it ignited a firestorm of discussion, debate, and speculation, with every NFL insider and fan site scrambling to confirm the details and interpret what this means for both Cleveland and Joe Flacco's future. This move also raises questions about the Browns' quarterback situation moving forward. Are they fully committed to developing a younger option, or is this part of a larger plan to bring in a marquee name? Could this trade be a prelude to signing a big-name free agent, or is it more about flexibility in the draft, freeing up resources to pursue a player who fits the team's evolving identity? Experts are divided, with some praising the Browns for being proactive and bold, while others caution that moving a veteran like Flacco could leave a leadership void in the locker room, especially during a critical rebuilding phase. The balance between experience and potential has always been delicate, and this decision pushes that tension to the forefront, making this trade a defining moment in Cleveland's franchise narrative. Meanwhile, the NFL community is buzzing with potential destinations for Flacco. Teams that could use a reliable veteran presence are suddenly thrust into the spotlight, with their quarterback situations dissected like a late-night case study. Fans are theorizing about everything from playoff contenders seeking depth to rebuilding franchises looking for a stabilizing presence at the most important position on the field. It's the kind of speculation that fuels Twitter debates, drives sports talk radio ratings through the roof, and keeps YouTube channels like ours busy for days. Each potential landing spot carries its own storyline, its own set of questions about fit, chemistry, and expectations, and that uncertainty is part of what makes this trade feel like a true shakeup. One of those rare moments where the ripple effects will be felt across multiple teams and perhaps even alter playoff forecasts months before the season begins. Some insiders are even suggesting that this trade might mark the start of a ripple effect across the league. Veteran quarterbacks rarely move in complete isolation, and whenever a player of Flacco's experience changes teams, it creates a cascade of dominoes. Backup quarterbacks could find themselves starting, draft plans may pivot, and coaching staffs might need to adjust schemes to accommodate new personnel. It's the kind of scenario that keeps front offices awake at night, pondering not just who they can acquire, but how every roster move fits into a larger, interconnected puzzle. And with the Browns orchestrating this deal in such secrecy, it makes you wonder what other surprises might be lurking behind the scenes, waiting to redefine the team's offseason strategy and perhaps even shake up the division as a whole. As the news continues to spread, Social media reactions have been as dramatic as the trade itself. Fans are divided between shock, excitement, and disbelief. Some mourn the loss of a familiar and steady presence. Others celebrate the boldness of the Browns' front office, and nearly everyone is speculating about what this means for the team's direction. Analysts have jumped on podcasts, sports shows, and YouTube channels to weigh in, dissecting potential landing spots, cap implications, and the emotional toll on both Flacco and the Browns' locker room. Memes are already circulating, hot takes are flying, and the debate is only getting started. In short, this is exactly the kind of rumor-filled, dramatic, and high-stakes story that the NFL offseason thrives on. For Joe Flacco, this chapter of his career is far from over. Veteran quarterbacks have a way of finding new opportunities, proving doubters wrong, and sometimes even rewriting their legacies in unexpected ways. Whether he becomes a mentor, a starter, or a bridge quarterback, the experience and poise he brings will make him a valuable asset wherever he lands. For the Browns, the move signals a willingness to take risks, to make bold decisions, and to prioritize long-term strategy over short-term comfort. And for the rest of the league, it's a reminder that in the NFL, nothing is ever truly settled until the final whistle blows, and that even the most unexpected trades can reshape the landscape in profound ways. So here we are, amid speculation, rumor, and a whirlwind of questions. The Browns have traded Joe Flacco, and the league, and especially the fans, are left to wonder who benefits, who loses, and how will this move echo through the seasons to come. One thing is certain. In a world where football decisions are analyzed down to the last detail, this trade has already set the stage for endless discussion, debate, and anticipation. We may not know all the answers yet, but if history is any guide, this secretive, shocking, and almost cinematic trade will be a story that echoes through the NFL offseason and beyond, keeping fans glued to their screens, analysts on edge, and everyone involved watching closely as the next chapter unfolds. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!